Okay, in this video we're going to cover lone wolf rescue. Lone wolf rescue is what we call a one person rescuing another person. So it's the minimal amount of rescuers, which is just one, and with the minimal amount of equipment. So where you would apply this is we're going to take a universal approach, meaning that whether you're a heli ski guide that's pulling a client out of a crevasse, it could be a military application, for example, soldiers falling into a cistern or a well on patrol, or you could be a ground SAR where you're on a hiking trail and searching for somebody that's fallen down off the trail into a cliff band. Something like that, where it's this hasty, minimalist ability to rescue one person with just a one person rescuer. So the equipment we're going to use is we're going to have our rope, and I'm going to show you three different options of rope length depending on the throw down to the casualty and to your anchor at the top. And we'll get into those once we start getting into the system. We've got two slings. One of them is for your anchor, and one of them is going to be to assist you in ascending the rope. And so we're only going to use one of them on this system because the anchor on the tower is fixed. But I just wanted to show you the two of them. The way that I rack the equipment is I put them in kind of a capability bundle. So I'll rack the second sling, both of them are 180 centimeters. The second 180 centimeter sling on the non-locking carabiner with the QA. And that's my little climbing the rope or ascending the rope package, and then that'll get racked on my gear. The second component is a locker with the pulley, and then this will also, I'll clip off the pocket hoist harness to that as well, and this is the casualty package. So when I get down there, if the casualty is incapacitated and I need to access them, then this is the casualty package I'm going to use. And then the last component is the QD and the ascent, which is a descent control device, and the ascent control device as well. So your progress capture for lowering, hauling, all of that. It's going to do all of those within this rescue system. There is also, the last component is another locking carabiner that's going to be on your harness. So there's three locking carabiners and one wire gate in the whole system. That's kind of the minimalist approach, the minimal that you'll need. Just talk about the anchor for a second. So the anchor on the tower is just going to be a single point, and it's a bomb-proof anchor. In reality, it can be absolutely anything. It's beyond the scope of this video to get into anchoring, but that could be a tree, that could be your rock protection, it could be ice screws, T-slot in the snow, it could be a vehicle if you're going down into the cistern or the well. Absolutely anything. The anchor is the anchor, and this is just going to be the focal point is our single point. And it's the same deal for the edge protection. So we've got rollers that are installed on the tower, and those rollers we're going to use for edge protection here, but in the field you're going to use whatever you have. So dedicated Edge Pro, or you're going to improvise with a backpack or whatever you've got in the field at the time. I'm going to undo the rope. The rope is the same deal. It's going to be dependent on whatever length that you're carrying, and the lengths come in typically 60 meters. This is the Gen 2 rope. You can use a Gen 1 as well. The only difference is going to be with the Gen 2, we're going to tie a knot in the end, and the Gen 1 would have your sewn termination with an eye at the end, but the application is going to be identical. The Gen 2 is a little bit more wiry, but you're going to get more endurance out of it. And so we're just going to undo it. And it doesn't really matter what the length is. This length is 20 meters, but it's made for the tower. If you're on the glacier, you might have 30, you might have a 60, depending on what you're doing. And so it's all going to be application based as to the length that you're using. So I'm just going to flake it out. Rat's nested here. Okay, good. We'll start with the end of the rope, and we're going to anchor it off. And I use a larger carabiner, so one that'll accept like an Italian hitch, and and that will allow us, because the carabiner is going to be a little bit busy. So this particular one is going to be a belay style carabiner. And we're going to put that on the focal point of our anchor. And then we're going to tie, figure of 9 is the best on this rope. It's going to be the strongest. Now honestly, you can get away with a weaker knot. It's figure 8, we'll do figure 9. You can do a figure 8. You could even get away with a thumb knot. It's not going to be that big of an issue because the system is always going to have a load limiting device, a QA or a QD in it, so that you're not so worried about shock loading that. We always want to do best practice. If those devices get fouled and there is a shock load, then at least we're using the strongest knot. That's going to go in first. We're going to leave this, actually we're going to close this right now because we are going to go to the edge. So over the edge, we've got our casualty and they're going to need rescuing from the top. And so if the edge is precarious, we're going to want to protect ourselves from a fall by securing ourselves with the QA. So make sure this goes on the correct way so that it catches your fall. If you put it on backwards, you will just slide to the bottom. And so you just want to test that. It'll slide up and lock this way. And you secure that to our harness. And that's going to provide us some edge protection when we go. And we're going to communicate with our casualty and take a look at how much rope we've got. Okay, so I go to the edge, and then this allows me to get over there and say, "Hey Rob, are you hurt?" He's going to say, "Yeah, I'm hurt." And I'm going to ask him, are you able to connect yourself, hook yourself up? And he's going to say, "No, my arm is broken. I'm not able to manipulate a carabiner, or I don't know how to do it, or whatever have you." But for this circumstance, it's worst case scenario. So we're going to say that he's unable to hook himself up to anything that I throw down there. He could also be incapacitated if he hit his head and he's not answering me at all. Hopefully at least I can see him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a loop down to him. And then once that reaches him, I'm going to say, "Okay, sit tight, Rob. I'm going to set up a system. I'm going to come down to you and get you hooked up." So then I'm going to come back to my anchor. I know that that loop has reached him. I'm going to tie a clove hitch. I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to put the clove hitch on, and then I'll secure it back. And now the next component that I'm going to do is I'm going to assess to see, do I have 3 times the amount of rope, so the triple the rope of the distance to the casualty, or only double? So I'll take this is a standing end, and I can go back here to the edge, and then I'm just going to put this around my back actually, and you can lower it down, you can throw it down, whatever's not going to get fouled, and I can see that that third rope is going to reach my casualty. So that's perfect. So in this circumstance, we're going to show you guys how to rescue them when you have triple the length down to the triple the length of rope down to the casualty. If you don't, the next video is going to show you when you only have double the length or not enough for triple. And then the video after that, we're going to show you when you only have just a little bit more than a single length. So the casualty is a ways down, or your rope is just too short. We'll get there. But for this one, we have triple the length. Okay, so now everything's set up. We're going to take ourselves off the QA. And I'm going to put that QA back on my little Ascent package. Re-rack that. I'm going to need it later to get back up and out. And I'm going to get my Q, not that one, I'm going to grab my QD. And on that single strand of rope, I'm going to rig my QD. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack here so it's easier to get to the edge. So I rig the QD as per. Secure that. Function test. Holds that way, slides that way. That's effective. Okay. Then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other end of the rope that's coming out of the clove hitch, not the standing end, but this is a dropped loop. And I want to be able to identify which strand is which when I get to the bottom. So I'm going to take the other end that I'm attached to on the other side of the clove hitch, and I'm just going to clip it off to my harness so I know which is which when I get down there. Okay, so before committing over the edge, we're going to do a safety check on the system. So first thing we want to make sure is check the anchor is still good to go. The focal point carabiner's done up. Then we've got, we'll just confirm our knot. Our clove hitch isn't going to slip. That's all good. The strands are coming out. This one's going down to the loop. It's got it secured so I know which one it is. The device is rigged correct. Let me just do another quick function check. That's good to go. I'm going to put my gloves on before I commit to the edge because I'm going to be rappelling down. And then I'm just going to double check when I get there that the rope reaches the bottom. If it does, I'm going to pull it up, tie a stopper knot in the end, and we're going to carry on. So here, get to the edge. I confirm that it does reach the end, so I'm just going to, so as not to rappel off the end of my rope, tie a stopper knot in the end. And then I'm going to lower that back down. Okay, and we're good. Okay, one last final check. Everything's good. I'm going to move this off the Edge Pro because I'm going to make sure that my rope is going on and over top of my edge protection. Okay. Want the cleanest edge transition as we can. We don't want to shock load the system, so I'm going to load that. That's looking good. And down we go. I'll see you in the bottom. So now we're at the bottom, and I'm here to secure Rob to the system and rescue him. So I'm going to want to keep this relatively tight just in case I slip and fall. I'm not falling off the precarious position, but I can go hands-free from it. The QD is auto-locking. I know that this was clipped through my harness, so this is the strand that goes up to the clove hitch. This is the standing end strand, and this is the one that I want to secure to him. And so the first thing, it's also worth mentioning that securing him is probably going to be more important than doing any first aid at this time if you're in a precarious position. There's no sense starting first aid if he's just going to slip and fall off the cliff band or wherever you are. However, if you're in a stable position, like in that well that you've fallen into, the cistern, even potentially a crevasse if you've bottomed out on it, hard to say, then you may want to do some first aid first. So it's situational dependent. But we're going to get Rob secured here, and we're going to do that with, so I've got the standing end in my hand. I'm not going to let go of that one because I want to remember which one it is. I'm going to get the pocket hoist harness unfolded here. I'm going to go around his waist. And then one through the legs. We've got 3 strands here. We're going to secure that with a locking carabiner. And then the pulley is going to go on the rope. We'll secure that. Good. Now, we'll take up the slack if we can, and we're going to do a twist and then a loop through, and that's going to be our slip knot. I'll just show you that again real quick. Okay, so this is the standing end that's going to secure them. We're going to do a loop that goes around that standing end and then put a bite through it. And just snug it down. Don't lock it in, don't cinch it down too much. That's going to stay secured, and this is going to allow the slip to pull once we get up to the top. Okay, so he's good to go. I'll leave him with instructions to not go anywhere till I get him set up top. And I'm going to rig for an ascent. So, rig for ascent is exactly as it is in the ascending a rope video. So if you want the details on that, I would revert over to that video. We're going to go through it pretty quick here. Rig the QA. All right. So we're rigged for an ascent now. I'm just going to climb out of the hole and go haul him up. So as I ascend, I will meet you guys back on top. Okay. So once you're up, you're going to want to set the drop loop on your edge protection if it's not up there already. And then as you're traveling in, you just want to take that slack up again, just so that you're not falling over the edge. Once you're there, we're going to take the leg loop off the QA and we're going to stow it, but we're going to leave everything else rigged. Take the slack up as we're moving in here. Good. Now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open the carabiner. Now technically it's not loaded yet, because unless he slipped and fell. And even if he was loaded, it's okay. We're going to open the biner and we're going to replace the clove hitch with the QD. So I'll open that up, get that ready, open this up. So we remove the clove hitch, replace it with the QD. I'm going to lock that carabiner. Now we're all set up for the haul. We just need to remove the slack. And so I'm just going to get rid of the excess slack in there. pulling it through the device. Okay, so there we go. The slack's out. Now I'll get a full throw, and I'm going to start hauling. We'll pull the rope that I rappelled up just to clean everything up over the edge. So as I start hauling, that slip knot's going to come out, and then just start hauling the load up. Now hauling a one-person load on a 6-to-1 should be manageable as long as your edges are managed. There's minimal friction. Try to haul this all the way to chock-a-block and then do a full reset. Maximum throw. And then just keep an eye on him when he gets to the edge. We're gonna have to do an edge transition. And you're gonna wanna secure yourself before we get there. So let's get him up to the very edge. He's gotta come, we've got 2 edges on the tower we're dealing with, but we're gonna bring him up to the top one. Almost there. Okay, can you get yourself around? So, you good there, Rob? I'm good. Bring it a little bit more. Okay, now if I have to go help him up, I'm not going to want to be unsecured when I get to that edge. So we're going to use the QA, and you can create yourself a, hang on, just put that there now. You can create an anchor, a fixed line, if you will, with the end of the rope. It doesn't really matter what knot you do here, again, because if you're on the QA, it should limit, if you fall over the edge, it should limit any shock load to 3, maybe 4 kilonewtons, and it should slip, but we'll do a retied figure 8 just because it's pretty strong and simple to do. Most people know how to do that. Okay. Then we'll put our QA on that figure 8, pardon me, on that standing line, and secure it to our harness. Before you get to the edge, just confirm that you put it on the right way. It should lock that way. Yep, good. Open it up. It allows you to travel back. I'm gonna lock it. Secure it. All right. And then you can assist. And if he can assist, that's great. However you want in getting him up and over the edge. And just for the sake of here, he's going to help me out. These are the video. It might be a lot uglier in reality. Once he's up, the very first thing you want to do, take that slack up in the device so that he's not going to fall back over that edge. Where are we here? There we go. Yep. Nice. All right. And he's secure. So that's the Lone Wolf rescue system. One person rescuing one person, where you've got triple the length of rope of the casualties distance down.